Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom, and today we're going to talk about 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way, Season 5, Episode 4, Mad About What You Said. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you have already subscribed, thank you for joining the family. We appreciate you. Please don't forget also hit that like button. Leave your comment so I know what you think about not only this episode, but 90 Day the Other Way, because you do realize that there's 90 Day the Other Way and 90 Day Before the 90 Days back to back. So this one comes on Monday nights on regular cable satellite and your streaming channels. So again, 90 Day, Season 5, Episode 4, Mad About What You Said. So let's get started. All right, so on this episode, we're going to see Armando and Kenny, Danielle and Johan. Yes, they're back. We thought it was over when they were on 2 seasons of 90 Day Fiance Love in Paradise. And even what we saw on the tell-all, if you joined us. If not, check out the reviews on our channel about the tell-all, because I really thought that they were a done deal. Okay, but they're back again. Julio and Kirsten, and we also have Mary and Brandon, who I actually think for now are the breakout story of the show. I was gonna say characters, but story. And TJ and Kimberly are also on here. Did I mention Holly and Wayne? Did I skip the Holly and Wayne are on the show as well? Okay, let's get started with my least favorite, but I shouldn't say that, least favorite, least interesting, because I actually enjoy Armando and Kenny. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them when they were on their season. I enjoyed them when they're even on the Pillow Talk version, when the former castmates, couples come back and talk about the new couples on the seasons of the 90 Day franchise. So I just don't understand what it is and the reasons as to why. I know I say it every week, but I just can't as the story progresses, like what is really going on here. But Kenny and Armando, Kenny has convinced Armando to come take a trip to Mexico City, which is a bigger city in Mexico. Kenny describes himself as being a hometown, or small town guy. And he's not really fond of the big city. He feels like the big city in Mexico is not as accepting to their relationship or people who are in certain type of relationships. And he just likes the small town feel. And also he's closer to his family. And if they move to Mexico City, they'll be about an additional 6 hours away from his family. And that's not what he wants for himself or for Hannah. So as we pick back up with them, Armando's mother has actually come to town. And she's come to town to Mexico City to have dinner with Armando, Kenny, and Hannah. She doesn't necessarily know why she's there, but they're going to break the news that they're possibly thinking about moving. So as they're sitting down at the restaurant for dinner, the conversation turns somber because Armando explained to his mom that he's considering moving to the big city with Kenny. There's more opportunities for maybe the business that they've started, more opportunities for Hannah and her education, and just a different lifestyle, more of the city life that Kenny is really looking for mainly, and that Armando is really considering getting into as well. And so when he's explained that to his mom, that he's moving, she starts crying immediately. And she says, so what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make me suffer? It's bad enough that you moved to the town that you're in now, which is about 2 hours away or so from where Armando's home is. But she says, when you move to the big city, who knows what would happen? Now, Armando already has this thing about, more crime and different little things can happen to you. Because let me just jump back a little bit. Before they even went to go pick up Armando's mom from the airport, he was putting his money from his wallet under the floor mat of the car because, you never know what could happen. But, sometimes it seems like, depends on where you are in the world, different activity like different crime activity can happen. So maybe Armando's like a little skeptical about maybe what he's heard or maybe what he's gone through in the city. But back to the dinner though. Not only is Armando's mother crying, talking about, do you want to see me suffer? And of course, Armando does not. I thought it took a lot of willpower for Armando to keep his composure, because not only is Hannah there, Hannah's about 9-10 years old, not to break down and cry or get emotional in front of her because her grandmother is already crying, right? And Kenny is sitting there emotional, even though he doesn't know what's being said. He can feel, he can read the room. He knows that it's not the best situation. But Armando comes out and tells his mom, like, I understand what you're thinking and feeling, but at the same time, when I came out to the family, I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel supported in the community. When everything went down with Hannah's mother, because unfortunately Hannah's mother passed away, I believe it was in a car accident. When we first met Armando and Kenny on their season a few years back. So Armando has been a single parent mainly all Hannah's life, because I believe her mother passed away when she was still in the infancy stage. And so Armando's bringing all this up, like, what is the reason for me to stay closer? Is it to benefit you, benefit the family? Because to keep it 100, he's telling her that he just didn't feel the love. Like, he really barely felt it when Kenny came along to propose and everything, like all the pushback they got from that. And Armando's mom was saying, well, for when Kenny came along, they had to accept the relationship. She said, Mexicans, and they're Mexican, right? So these are her words, that it takes a while to accept things. And Armando was standing his ground, though. He's like, I understand, but I had to deal with a lot of things alone by myself. Now I'm not by myself, meaning by himself, like with no one else to talk to, no one else he felt comfortable with getting his issues out. He said, I'm no longer by myself. I now have Kenny, yes, Hannah, but Kenny, my partner, to see what he wants to do and take his feelings into consideration as well. So I think that Armando is starting to lean towards moving to the city with the different opportunities, again, not just for the business that him and Kenny have, but just the educational opportunities that Hannah will have as well, that he has to make a tough decision. And I think maybe that's why he possibly flew his mom out to Mexico City to tell her the news. So I guess we'll have to find out. All right, so let's move to Danielle and Johan. Now, for reference, do we need to see a picture of Danielle and Johan? Let me just pop them up for good measure. Danielle and Johan. This was a picture of them from the last season of Love in Paradise, when Danielle finally decided she was moving to the Dominican. Now, a lot of things have happened. Okay, Danielle explains that it's been 3 months since the tell-all. And the things that happened at the tell-all, from Danielle's ex-boyfriend being there as well, Yohan saying the things that he was saying, he was really getting some get back to Danielle. She said that she really felt that the relationship was over, because Yohan said it was. He said he didn't want to be bothered anymore. But Danielle said that they went to counseling. They came together and went to counseling after the tell-all. And now she says they are better for it. They're better people now. She says she could see things better from Yohan's perspective. And I'm personally surprised that she can, because Danielle truly comes across as a lady who, well, in this relationship with her and Yohan, who it just emasculates Yohan. It was very apparent. And that's just not necessarily my opinion, but the opinion of people who were on the season with her. They were mentioned to her on the tell-all, and Danielle couldn't necessarily see this at the time. She was saying things like, well, why? Because I don't cook and clean for him. It went way beyond that. It went just below the belt sometimes of what Danielle was saying. But she said they went to counseling and they're better for it. So, okay, we'll move forward to that and to see how their story plays out. Well, when we see Yohan, he's smiling, he's laughing, he looks like he's having a good time. He looks like he's a little bit more relaxed. Well, let me take away a little bit more. He seemed like he's way more relaxed, and that's a good thing for their relationship, right? So I guess maybe this counseling has worked and they are on a new leaf. Well, we also see that Danielle and Johan also have a new puppy. She said, oh, this is my new son. This is my puppy named Gizmo. So I guess that's who has come into their life now. So they are now dog parents. So also on this episode, we see Danielle's friends come to visit from New York. Danielle said that her friends weren't necessarily, cool with her coming over to spend her entire life in Dominican with Johan because, what did Johan have to offer? And Danielle was giving up her entire life in New York, her career and different things like that. So they had some concerns. So while Danielle is on her way to the airport, she's driving. She looks like she's cutting around the alley. It's a lot of traffic. It seemed like on a one-way street, but she don't care. She's like, oh my God, I'm going to get through anyways. And she's like, beep, beep. And then comes turning the car through the curb. And she's like, oh, this is just me and my New York driver. And she's like, they were going to move anyways. I'm like, if they didn't move, you're going to tear your car up. It was either one or the other, but you just made it by the skin of your teeth. So it is what it is. So when Danielle gets to the airport, her friends have landed. They are happy to see Danielle, but in confessional, these friends say that they are a little apprehensive still, even though they're happy for Danielle that she's moved to Dominican and she's starting her life. But, what does Johan have to offer? So when they get back to the house, the friends officially meet Johan. There's food ready. They sit down to talk. And this is where we learn something about Johan. Well, when we last saw Johan, he was working at a meat market that he had. Now, the conditions of the meat market for American standards would be considered sanitary, but it was his meat market. And he also worked at a hotel doing, I don't know, maybe it was the valet or something at the hotel. I don't know. Well, guess what? Johan no longer works. He has quit his job. And so last season, Danielle was saying how he needed to give her half of his money and not give as much money to his family to support, or else they couldn't make it. So I guess whatever counseling happened and Danielle has a new frame of mind, well, Johan is not bringing in any money at all. So Danielle is doing exactly what she said she didn't want to do, which was support Johan, let alone any man. Okay, so maybe they've worked something out. I don't know, because Danielle is using her retirement from her years of working in the New York school district system to be in the Dominican. So when the friends learned that Johan wasn't working, is bringing up a whole different set of questions. So also in confessional, the friends say that they can see that Johan and Danielle really, really love each other, but they also say that Johan seems like he's getting more confident, and eventually he's not going to let Danielle walk all over him like he used to, and that's going to throw Danielle off. She's not going to like it. So the friends know a little bit of something about that relationship. They just are now seeing it face to face. All right, let's move to Julio and Kirsten. Let me see their picture. Here they are, Julio and Kirsten. So here's the thing about Julio, but Kirsten calls him Julio because it sounds more European. I'll let her have that, and I'm going to stick with Julio because that's what your mama named you, okay? Julio has taken Kirsten to meet some of his family members. I guess they're having a backyard games, activities, and food. When we first met Julio and Kirsten, he took her to meet his mother and his brothers. His mother was not here for Julio, saying that he was going to move with Kirsten, period. And on top of that, Julio didn't even tell his family that he was even dating Kirsten for as long as he have. As far as they know, she was just a friend. Okay, so when Julio and Kirsten go to his family member's house for the games, food, and everything else, the cousins are asking the questions that the mom asked the day before. And the mom was there too. So, she probably already gave them the heads up of what was really happening. So when Julio was explaining how long he's known Kirsten and that he wanted to move, they're looking at him like, I know you are crazy. They're like, you just barely know her. You went over to the Dominican to Netherlands, where she's from, for work and things like that. And you think it's okay now to just one, spring her on us, and two, say that you're moving for someone you don't really know? And so Kirsten's sitting there, and you can see she's very uncomfortable. She was not just uncomfortable meeting the other side of the family, but the night before, when it was just Julio's family and his brothers, because the same scenario is starting to pop up, just with more people. And she's smiling, and she's, absorbing everything that's saying, but she is truly being ambushed by what is being said, not just by Julio's family, but by Julio, because the things he's saying, it seems like it is the first time that Kirsten's hearing about this. Now, when the conversation came up with, should Kirsten move here to America, since you technically spend time in Amsterdam working, going back and forth, they asked Kirsten that. She's like, no, that wasn't the plan. I mean, very, very uncomfortable. Now, in confessional, Kirsten said, and she said it more than once in confessional, that she was shocked and surprised that Julio did, defend her to his family when they were asking all those questions. But the questions about Julio, like maybe staying in the States a little while longer till he got his stuff together and, maybe he could travel back and forth, started to sway Julio's mind a lot, because he's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. In confessional, Kirsten's like, what is the point of being together and you moving to the Netherlands if we don't live together? She said, like, how much sense does that make? Okay. I can see your point with that, though. I can. Now, after the family gathering, Julio and Kirsten go out again, and this time it's around Halloween, so they have on costumes. Kirsten says it's not a big deal in Amsterdam to do Halloween. It's a little bit, but not very much. So when they get to the bar where they're going to hang out, it's another of Julio's friends. And so Kirsten is saying, oh, hey, how are you doing? Very polite, very pleasant. She hasn't come off that at all. I'm not getting any other energy than polite, pleasant. I'm here for Julio. I'm here to meet everybody. So, when he comes over, you know who I am, know where he'll be, type thing. So Julio's friend says, oh, yeah, I forgot his name. I'm such and such. She goes, well, how does Julio know you? And he said, oh, well, I'm the guy that helps take him to the airport and, help him get all his stuff together to come see you. That's who I am. And so when the conversation started to talk about different little things, Julio's friend also asked him, he said, so you're really going to move to Amsterdam? He goes, why don't you just, if you do move, you feel like you have to go, why don't you just get, your own apartment when you're there? Because, like, let's say you get in an argument, you have your own place to go. And not just that, you just have your own place to go to relax. You're still trying to get to know each other. So, maybe in time you can move together. And Julio once again was like, that's a good idea. He looked at Kirsten, he was like, so babe, what do you think about getting a place together? I mean, not getting a place together. I mean, it makes sense for me to have my own space and you too. And a Kirsten again says, like, that's not the point. Like, why would you want to get your own place when we've already talked about this? And I think that not only is Julio being evasive and wishy-washy, I think he's being evasive, wishy-washy, and not being truthful about what's really going on. Like, does he really not want to move? Because it said before about Julio that he's a mama's boy, but I think there's something else going on. Because it made it not... Okay, let me start over. Julio is a mama's boy per what it said under his name, like Julio 27 mama's boy. But it kind of made it seem like he was the only child, right? He's not. He's got two other brothers, like one that's older, one that's younger. So what is going on here for Julio's mind to be swayed? You know what? If he doesn't want to go, if he feels like he's over his head, he should just say so. But the mom and the brothers did say to Kirsten when they first met her, yeah, he doesn't necessarily tell the truth all the time. So yeah, that's giving a whole lot of pause. So Kirsten, red flag, you might want to think about this. Okay, let's move to Holly and Wayne. So Holly and Wayne are out shopping. Let me find their picture. They're in South Africa. Holly moved to South Africa for Wayne. Wayne is taking Holly shopping because he said that he feels that she dresses way too flirtatious. And he says it could put her in a lot of danger with guys who think that maybe she is giving the wrong impression. And then living in South Africa is really dangerous because you never know, because her dresses are just way too short and she could be targeted, and he doesn't want that. Now, also, too, we met Wayne. He said that where he lives in South Africa, that they go on a power surge or power outage or whatever to conserve energy in the power. So there's lots of crime going on when the power's out. He said he's been robbed 3 times, and he's even set up a pepper spray thing in his house. So if Holly is dressing like this, maybe, I mean, Wayne lives there. He knows what's going on. So that's why he's taking Holly to get something else to wear. Where when they go into a place of retail shop, it looks like all they sell in there are dresses and evening wear, things like that. I didn't see any jeans, t-shirts, shorts, sun rompers, nothing. I didn't see anything in the stores but dresses, evening gowns, and stuff like that. Well, it turns out Holly said that's all that she wears anyway. She is not a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. So I guess maybe that would make sense to go to a store like that. Now, Wayne is asking Holly to please be open-minded. So she's looking around the store and she decides to try on some dresses. And one of the very first dresses she comes out in, Wayne says, well, that dress is shorter than the ones you always wear. I'm like, Holly can't win. But the dress was considered short. It was like a miniskirt type dress. And then Holly's mom is also there too while they're shopping. She's like, oh, well, maybe this dress right here. When it's like, nope, everything they picked out, it was like, nope, 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 and nope, too short. So Holly said, you know what? I'm already compromising a lot. Not just me moving here, but you want me to dress a certain type of way. And then Wayne said, it's not because I want you to dress a certain type of way. It's because that you could be viewed as like a prostitute. I said, prostitute? Wayne, that's a little bit too far. And even Holly was like, excuse me, a prostitute? So then Wayne tried to backtrack a little bit. He goes, that's not really what I meant. Wrong choice of words. Most definitely the wrong choice of words. Okay, like why would you call any woman a prostitute that you're with just because she's wearing a dress that might you consider short? Holly said that, you know what, I just can't win. I can't please you. And so Wayne is trying to show Holly different dresses and like, try this one, try that one. First of all, no one is going to be walking around every day in a dress as long as an evening gown, a formal evening gown that touches almost the floor every day, you know? And then Holly said, well, you knew how it was when we got together, so meet me halfway. Wayne said he's trying, but I don't know. Holly told him that, you know, he needs to be respectful of her and how she wants to look. And that's the way it should be. I mean, she's 40, he's 40, and she doesn't see the problem, but I can understand what Wayne is saying. It's just the way that he's saying it, where it came out like with the wrong message. So we'll see what kind of clothes Holly gets out that shop, or if she's going to continue to wear the same things she's already been wearing. All right, let's move to Mary and Brandon. So the Lovebirds are back at Mary's house or is it really Brandon's house? Because he sent his entire paycheck. So really it's Brandon's house too. The grandparents are waiting for Brandon. They're finally ready to meet him. So the very first question Grandpa asked Brandon was, so what did you and Mary do when you first met? And so Mary had already told him in the car. Well, not Mary. Mary's brother had told Brandon in the car, like, you know what, you have to get permission to kiss, hug, anything from our grandparents because it's a respect issue. So Brandon got the heads up before he got there. So when Brandon answered a question with the grandfather, he hesitated a little bit. He was like, we just said hi and I got my luggage and then we came over here to the house. And in confessional, Brandon said, you know what, first of all, I wouldn't have said that we kissed anyways. But if I wanted to say anything else, he said, Mary's grandfather has the resting bee face, and he looks like maybe he's done some other things. So I think Brandon might be scared of grandpa. Okay. So after that, Brandon married the family, go tour the house. Now, when Mary is showing him around the house, there are some serious things that's happening. Now, Mary says in confessional that things are different than America. Yes, they are. Okay, but things that we were seeing along the tour were spiders, and Brandon was like, "Ooh, what's that?" She's like, "Be careful. There's bigger ones than that." First of all, the spider was already a tarantula, the regular size that you would see, like maybe, and this is no shade, but in a pet store or, on TV or something like that. But it was like in like the dresser or the entertainment center with the web. Okay. Then as they were looking around, there was like roaches on the wall. She said roaches. I was going to be nice, say water bugs. Roaches on the wall. She said there were ants everywhere. And then there was also a gecko, the gecko lizard. And apparently all this lives in the house. And the gecko also makes noises. And makes them normally at night, calling for a mate or calling, whatever animals do, it does at nighttime. And it almost sounded like it was a voice, like a human voice. Because even Brandon was like, "What's that?" I was like, "What's that too?" And I'm not there. I'm just watching on the TV. Okay. And then at the same time, it's raining. And it looks like the roof or where Mary's room is, or just a certain part of the house, has I'm guessing like the roof doesn't come all the way together. It's like 10 maybe, but the construction design isn't, the best. So yeah, it's going to be a real challenge. And also there is no hot water there's no hot water and there's no running water to the toilet or something like that. So that is something to be expected. The hot water and, the indoor plumbing is not there. But Brandon was like, "You know what? That's okay. That's okay." But in confession, you know why he said it was okay? Because in confessional, he said, "You know what? I have lived before in my car. I've lived in an RV camper before. And you know what? There was no running water in my car. So I'm used to being, not having anything." I'm like, "Brandon, no. See, that's different. The car was something maybe, he's only 23. So maybe you were going place to place. You were couch surfing. But in the RV, unless it was broken down, you had running water. So, and even if you didn't, the situations are completely different. It's not even apples to oranges. There is no comparison to what is in the Philippines and what was going on versus where you lived in America. So anyways, he could try to sugarcoat it if he wanted to, but I was like, nope, not the same. Well, anyways, after the tour, Mary and Brandon and the family all went to the kitchen, and Mary's grandma hooked up a meal. Looked like there was some lumpia, there was some Filipino, what they call fried chicken, and different little things on the counter. It was a lot of food. And so Brandon tried the first dish of noodles and something else, and then he tried, Mary said, the Filipino fried chicken. Now, let me say with the chicken, even though it was fried pretty hard and golden, it wasn't giving me chickeny pieces that I recognized. I'm not saying it wasn't, but Brandon said it was good. I'm sure the flavor was there because Filipino food, in my opinion, with the lumpia and things like that, it have good flavor. But here's the thing with Brandon, though. I was going to say at the same time. Brandon asked Mary around the grandfather, the grandmother, and her brother, "So am I sleeping in your room tonight?" And so she's like, "You have to ask grandparents." So when he asked, "Can he sleep in the room?" grandmother said, "Yes, you can, but there's no making love." And Brenda said, "Oh, okay, no, we won't." All right. In confessional, Brenda said, "You know what? That is not what he thought. His first night was going to be, he thought it was going to be real steamy because you know what? He even brought his boxers that had a bulge in the front." And I said, "Brandon, what difference does it make with the boxer with the bulge in the front? Do you have something to go in the bulge? Because if not, They're regular boxers. Anyway, so they got permission to go to the room. He said he was tired, so he didn't finish the meal. So, okay. Well, I mean, I can see Brandon and Mary sneaking some kisses or whatever, maybe a little touchy-feely, because Mary said she wasn't ready to go to the next level of intimacy just yet. And Brandon said that's okay. You know, even though they talked about it before, it's all right. He's going to respect her wishes. So, yeah, that's Mary and Brandon. To me, they are the couple to watch on this show because they have so much going on. The second couple to watch so far, to me, is TJ and Kimberly. Let me pop them up. Okay, Kimberly is, in her words, a clairvoyant. TJ is someone who does voiceovers and things on the radio. Kimberly is from Alabama. She says she met TJ in a dream. So here she is. 6 months later, she's been back and forth to India before, so she's going this time to stay, and she plans on getting married. So she has probably been in the house, TJ's family's house, for all of 10 minutes before all hell breaks loose. TJ and Kimberly have an apartment upstairs. That was one of Kimberly's requests before she moved back to India. Kimberly goes to look at the apartment. The door isn't where they're supposed to be. The doors aren't even hung right. There's no running water. Toilets don't flush. There's no toilet paper. All kind of stuff is wrong. So TJ and Kimberly get into it. And they get into it so bad where Kimberly calls him a D, or another name for eggplant. TJ feels very disrespected, and I don't blame him. Okay, so then Kimberly is like, so what do you want to do? You don't want to marry me then? TJ was like, you know what, forget it. Don't get married. So TJ goes down the stairs and tells his family, it's not like they can't hear it anyways. I mean, they're just upstairs. It's not like any real door. Okay, tells the family what is going on. What Kimberly said, gave them every bit of detail, left nothing out. TJ's brother is not here for Kimberly at all. He does not care for her. He feels she's entitled, and he doesn't think they should be getting married, period. Versus the mom says that, you both have to let go of what you're feeling and come together, especially if you're going to get married, find common ground. The dad didn't say too much. But TJ was saying, for Kimberly not to like the apartment, everything that he put into it to make sure she was comfortable, he said he even took out a loan that's going to take him 7 years to repay. And this is how she's acting? He's like, I can't be bothered with this. And we're getting married in a week? Like, how does she expect me to feel? And on top of that, call me out my name. Like, who does that? And who is she? Like, I can't be bothered. But when we see Kimberly, she's upstairs. She, of course, is emotional. And sorry, Kimberly, you give me drama queen vibes. You just do. Okay. Now, you were right about the doors and the running water things that you were hoping to get. But did you give money to assist with this as well? But still drama queen. She is saying how, she don't know if she's going to get married now. And it just wasn't a good night. It just wasn't a good night all around. So when we see the very next morning, TJ and his brother are still chit-chatting. TJ is still very highly upset. Versus Kimberly, who gets up. She's got on a onesie pajama. She's saging the room. She's saying that, you know what? I need to focus on light and love and get rid of the evil things that's going on in here. And she's complaining about it being cold. So not only is there no doors, no running water, no toilet paper, there's no heat. So Kimberly was very, very uncomfortable. Well, later TJ decides to come up the stairs, and at first he starts to talk like, so how'd you sleep? Kimberly is writing something on some paper. She's trying to ignore him. She's like, I slept all right. I'm not feeling good. And, she says, are we still getting married? And I'm like, you still want to get married? TJ says, yes, he does. He still wants to get married. She goes, well, if we weren't going to get married, we have some issues to work through. And so here we go. Voices start getting raised again. TJ says, yes, we do. You called me the D word. That rhymes with eggplant. And he said, I feel disrespected. You shouldn't call me that. Kimberly said, that is not even a cuss word. She goes, so it just means testicle. Would you rather me call you a testicle? I'm like, Kimberly, don't deflect. You know exactly what he's saying. So Kimberly says, so it wasn't right for you to call me a bastard either. True, it wasn't, but it was the context and what it said, but it still wasn't right. The point is, both of them still weren't really finding common ground because Kimberly said, I just want you to acknowledge that you hurt me. How come you can't say that you hurt me? I mean, TJ is hurt too. He said, if you're so much of a clairvoyant, how come you didn't see that? Why are you disrupting souls? I'm like, oh my goodness. Another lady that's come over to India wanting a different result. I'm not saying Kimberly's not going to get it because it's still fairly fresh. But if you're already starting on this note, you've barely been there 24 hours. How did it last this long? That's what I really want to know. So, yeah, I don't know. Next week, I don't know. Next week, maybe things will calm down. Maybe they'll take a walk and come to a common ground. So that was the end of this episode. Next week, we're going to see TJ and Kimberly out in the evening, getting ready for their wedding, doing different little things. And TJ saying to confessional, there's things that Kim doesn't know about her role as part of an Indian housewife. He's going to tell her after the wedding. So he's keeping secrets as well. Mary is saying in confessional that she wants to fatten Brandon up so she could hug him better, so he could feel like a teddy bear. So apparently she feels like he's too skinny. We have Julio and Kirsten. They're still talking about him moving to the Netherlands or not. Heavy on the not. We have Danielle also talking with her friends about having a baby, and they're concerned that he doesn't have a job and the different process that Danielle has to go through to have a baby because she's considering IVF. And then Armando and Kenny continuing their conversation with Armando's mom and seeing if maybe they could get understanding about Armando and his feelings and possibly moving with him and Hannah and Kenny to Mexico and maybe having her approval. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, live simply, be grateful.